Yo, what up? Grand Rising, everybody. How you doing? This is your coach Rans, and welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I will be your host, your guide tonight as we discuss the Garden of Eden story, dealing with the whole Adam and Eve creation of man and so on and so forth. If you find this channel for the first time, we deconstruct Christianity on this channel. Sometimes we have other conversations, but the first portion of the show is dedicated toward the actual conversation, and then we can veer off into other conversations thereafter. The show lasts for about as long as my cigar lasts. It's how it normally goes, my cigar and coffee. So I'd like to welcome anytime you're a first timer, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, hit that share button. And first, I want to thank all my members of the channel, the subscription holders on Facebook. We're streaming on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. As a reminder, in the description of this video, you will see that we have a link for the Jewelry Plaza in downtown San Antonio on October 31st through to November 2nd. We're having a meetup, so it'd be great to see you guys in the present. Get your reservations now and not later. I see we got Tim already here and Teresa's here. So we go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time frame. So that is when you can catch us live. And if we have, oftentimes we allow people to come onto the show. I did put a couple of challenges out today for people who come on the show because they had something. I usually do a preview video for what we're talking about tonight. And I did a preview video earlier about Adam and Eve and the being and God entrapping them. So hopefully the couple of people that has made interesting statements, they'll come on here to the show and bring their issues. But they rarely do, but hopefully, here's hoping. What up, Dwayne, Rath, Sherry? How's everybody? But definitely I want to see you guys October 31st through November 2nd here in San Antonio. Definitely want to see you guys at that time. I'm gonna start around the 5-minute mark. So if there's anything that anybody wants to, put out right now, any immediate questions, concerns, issues, thoughts, now is the time before the 5-minute mark hit. But the cigar shall be lit. Grand Rising Lou. I don't think I've ever seen that name before. Lou Vicious. I do want to thank you guys. The show has been growing. It has been growing. We're about to go over 26,000 on YouTube. Facebook's been a little bit interesting as, there's always people joining, always people dropping. Usually there's more people joining than people dropping. But Facebook has been dropping ghost channels and bots and things of that nature. So that may be affecting our channel on Facebook. But I want to thank everybody who's new to this channel. But the growth of the channel is based on you guys sharing the videos. Sharing. And for those who do share the videos, I appreciate it. What's up, Volta? How we doing? Now, I haven't seen a Facebook comment yet, but I'm pretty sure the stream on Facebook is acting appropriately. Let me make sure. I haven't seen a Facebook one yet. We might be having problems on the Facebook. Okay. We may not. Oh, okay. There we go. All right, Facebook is working. Okay. Just didn't see anybody commenting on Facebook. What up, Veron? New Zealand. Okay, Isaac. Cool. All right. Yeah, I see Facebook is working. Just have to make sure. So how many of you guys saw my video earlier that I put out? Eden was entrapment by God, or was Eden entrapment by God? So that video went out about 2 hours ago. So I know it's not a lot of time. But I put out a video talking about how the Eden story sounds like an entrapment by this guy, the same way that the police may use a situation where they entrap someone, causes them to fall, set them up in a negative situation so that they can arrest them, so that they can punish them. So Isaac saw it. So definitely go back and watch that video, even though I'm going to talk about pretty much everything in that video. But I might miss something. But we're going to start out with the entire, we're going to talk about this Garden of Eden story. So are you guys ready? Are we ready? Does the shame of Adam and Eve's sin have effect on the blockage of humanity for creating new life? In reality, the Adam and Eve story is just a made-up story. It has absolutely nothing to do with our lives. But have an effect on the blockage of humanity for creating new life? What blockage do we have of creating new life? People are not able to have babies for a bunch of different reasons. So, what's my email? So the email is master. I put it in here. It'll be easier for me to put it in here. Now, my email is also where you can contact me if you want to do one-on-one coaching or if you want to buy some cigars. So, covers their genitals once they discover that they were naked. Right, but that has nothing to do with someone's ability to produce a children or not to be able to produce a child. So the Adam and Eve story, let's dig into it. First, let's go through what the basic story is told, how the basic story is told. And then we'll go into some of the historical information. And then throughout this, we'll talk about how illogical the story is. And we'll talk about it point for point. So the Adam and Eve story. All right. Yes, I knocked down my whiteboard, so I got to put that back up. So for those who have read the book of Genesis, in Genesis 2 starts a whole new version, a whole new retelling of the creation story. Many people have viewed it as a retelling of a different creation, but it is merely two different perspectives being told at different time frames by two different groups of people. One, the Genesis chapter 2 was actually the first story, and Genesis chapter 1 is the second story. But they are still lying contradiction to one another, as far as them being the exact same story, and they create contradictions between the two of them. We're going to get to that. Is he asking if Eve's curse, the pain of childbirth, contributes to contraceptions or abortions? I don't know if that's what he's asking. It's really not clear. Because I don't see a universal blockage of people being able to have a baby. We usually know why somebody has issues having a child, right? Whether the man has low sperm count, the woman has mucus in her uterus, or some other kind of issue. So, when you read the Bible, you got Genesis 1. Genesis 1 goes through the 6 days of creation. And on the 6th day of creation, this God so-called created man and woman, and told them to be fruitful and multiply. The correct um, translation there shouldn't just be man and woman. It should mean mankind. Oh, hold on, Isaac. He means he don't mean like making babies, but for creating a better life for the self. The Adam and Eve story has nothing to do with that. What has to do with that is you. You create a better life. Anyone can create a better life for yourself. You just have to be willing to do what's necessary to become enlightened enough to be able to do it. There is no general sense of mankind not being able to create a blissful life. Uh, this story certainly has nothing to do with it. I hope that answers your question. So the Adam and Eve story, so the Genesis chapter 1 story, where it talks about the fact that it says that God created man and woman and told them to be fruitful and multiply and have dominion over all the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the animals on the ground. The actual word should just be mankind, but you can see why it says man and woman. But in Genesis chapter 1, on the 6th day, certainly man is supposedly created, and this God said that he saw it and he thought that that was good. And then he rested on the 7th day. And then chapter 2 goes into starting how this God had rested, and then he had not caused it to rain, and there was no man on the earth to till the soil or anything of that nature. So he caused the mist to come up and water the earth, and then the Garden of Eden sprung up, right? And this garden that is in the land of Eden in Chaldea, we just call it the Garden of Eden, sprouted up, and then from the clay, from dirt, he made man. Now, right off the bat there, we know that man was not made from dirt. But he claims that he made man, and man was made from dirt, and then man was in the garden. He told man to take care of the garden, be the first gardener. And he named him Adam, and Adam was cleaning up. Now, when it says that it made the first man, this is a difference than the chapter 6. Day 6 of the chapter 1 creation, because it says Ha Adam. So in chapter 1, it just says God made Adam, meaning mankind. When it said in chapter 2, it uses the term Ha Adam, which means the man. So anytime it has that definite article of Ha before it, it means the individual person. Much like in Job, when it says the Ha Satan, it is talking about the Satan, meaning that there could be a multitude of the mentality of Satan. But okay, I can't understand what James is saying. But the situation is thus that he was talking about an individual when he's talking about he created Adam. Adam supposedly had the ability to name all the animals, because this God decided that Adam was lonely. Adam needed somebody to be with him, so he brought forth all of the animals, and Adam named them. And then he said, but none was suitable for Adam to be a helpmeet. We'll get into that. Well, now, you know what? We're just going to hit every point as we go through it. So Adam came in, and now Adam is naming all the animals, and Adam is by himself. Adam is supposed to find a helpmeet from one of the animals. He's not able. None of the animals were capable. What do y'all think that means? Now, if you listen to enough of my videos, you already know what I think it means. But Adam wasn't able to find an animal that was suitable enough to be a helpmeet. Right. Where's the list of names of Adam naming all the animals? Exactly. There is no list. There is no general naming of all animals. Depending on what country you're in, what language you use, you may call an animal something different. Volta says to be able to reproduce. Because when you think about this whole creation, this so-called creation of Eve, the main difference here, as far as being a helpmeet, is something that he can marry, something he can reproduce with. Which is kind of crazy that this guy didn't know that humans need humans in order to have a companionship. And no matter how much people say that, oh, my dogs, my cats, they're my babies, you cannot have a thought-provoking conversation with a dog. You are literally having a thought-provoking conversation with yourself. You cannot have the same type of affection and receive the same type of affection from a dog or a cat. No matter how much that dog lick your face and all that kind of stuff, for people who allow that nastiness to happen, don't feed the dog. See what the dog does. He'll feed on you. So because he couldn't find a helpmate, it sounds a little bestiality to me. Like Adam was trying to have an intimate relationship with all the animals that this guy brought forward to it. So the bringing forth of all these animals is the Bible saying that Adam got busy with the sheep and the goats and the camels and that. And if he brought all the animals, that means he brought the elephants, he brought the lions, he brought the polar bears, he brought all the penguins and all the birds and all the fish. He brought all these animals up to Adam. And Adam supposedly named them, and Adam tried to make a helpmeet out of all of them. Right. I mean, he's about as all, he's smoking mirrors like the Wizard of Oz, standing behind a curtain. Yep. Had sex with him. They are not going, Christians will not want to admit that to save their life. But in order to find a suitable helpmeet, it had to be a woman. So what was he doing with all those other animals? And the fact remains, there were no polar bears. He didn't bring a whale. How did a whale come to the Garden of Eden? Penguins have never been past the equator. So he could not have named all the animals, nor could he have, and then if he was, the animals he was looking at, he was sexing up the animal. Yes, Roland, it sounds ridiculous, but there is no other way to come to an understanding of that unless you just fully want to lie to yourself. If you want to lie to yourself, then you can say, oh, help me. It's kind of like you have an ox to help you farm. You know, you have a cow to provide some milk. It sounds crazy, but when the next thing that is created that is a suitable helpmeet is a woman, and they have an intimate relationship, both mentally, physically, and emotionally, when you put those things into him doing this with the animals, physically, mentally, and emotionally, the physical part, you're gonna get that pum pum. So Adam was sticking his ping ping all up in some baboon booty. Oh no, I didn't take it as you saying that it sounds ridiculous, like against what I was saying. Yes. And how ridiculous is that? Now, as the story continues, and this is pretty much, well, no, this is not where the video that I produced picked up yet. Now, so-called, this Adam was then put to sleep. He was put to sleep so that a rib can be taken from Adam. Now, the Sumerian word that is this in the Sumerian text, and what that word is also in the Hebrew, although it's translated as rib, it can also be translated as life. Whatever the life source, life energy is, it doesn't necessarily translate to blood, but it could mean taking the blood of Adam. So it's not, it can be translated either way as life or rib. So it says that he took the life or rib from Adam. It really, and even when it's translated to rib, it actually means more of side, just the side. So he could have just taken blood from the side of Adam. We know that it is not a rib because men have the same number of ribs as women. We are not missing a rib. And so he put him to sleep. He took the rib. He took the life source of Adam. Now, men have XY chromosome. If he would have made Eve, he would have had to been a mad scientist in this whole thing and got rid of the Y chromosome and doubled the X chromosome. Otherwise, he would have made another man. So instead of Adam and Eve, it would have been Adam and Steve. Because effectively, he's cloning, right? Now, if he was cloning without being able to suppress the Y chromosome, because we know women are XX chromosome. So it demonstrates one of those situations where they didn't understand how science works. They didn't understand how biology works. And for this to be the all-powerful God, he didn't realize at some point that man would be able to question these things and recognize that if you're taking a piece of a body part, the rib, and let's say you're using the bone marrow in order to create another human, that you're going to create another man, unless he has the technology to double the X chromosome. But either way, it's still a clone of Adam. It's his sister. It's himself. It's still a clone. And then from that clone, we recognize that, he makes a woman. Now, in the Sumerian story, it is very simple. It is the gods, it is Ninharsag, Enlil, Enki, Anu, saying, let us go into the absolute and let us make man in our own image. And then they take this early hominid that's on the planet. They do some gene splicing, take the blood of take some genetic material from one of their own people, and then they impregnate Ninharsag with this egg and sperm mixture. And they do this 16 times until they get Adapa and Titi. So we know where the story is coming from. And Adapa and Titi are placed in the Garden of Eden in Chaldea. So we know where the story is coming from. It's coming from their Canaanite roots, which is coming from their Sumerian Akkadian roots. But we're going to stick mostly with the Bible story and just his own problematic situation. So he makes this Adam and Eve character. Now, beforehand, he had told Adam that you can eat from any tree in the garden. But the only tree you cannot eat from is the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Beautiful. The fruit looked good. And this is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because in the day that you eat from it, and it uses the word tone, not tone. Damn, what is the word? I forgot the damn word for day. But it uses a word that means a 24-hour day. Why did I forget that? I usually know that word. Ancient Hebrew word for day. Yom, sorry. Yom. He tells them yom in the day that you eat. It uses the word yom. Yom in every other place in the Bible. There's no other place in the Bible where the word yom does not mean 24-hour day. It will always mean 24-hour day. It will never change from meaning 24-hour day. Thank you, Will. Will threw it up there for me as well. It will always mean 24-hour day. So he tells Adam that in the day that you eat from this, that you will die. Die. Now, for all my, it's all allegorical, it's all metaphorical. Nobody who was hearing this story in 700 BCE thought that this was allegorical or metaphorical. They believed in this story literally. No one, the first mentioning of an Israelite we have is in 1204 BCE. No one during that time frame thought that it was allegorical or metaphorical. This story was meant literally from the beginning of them telling the story, and did not change until you had people like Jerome and Augustinian, and those people in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th century who started saying, oh, it's allegorical, until you got different popes saying it's allegorical, until you got Martin Luther and John Calvin start saying that these stories were allegorical. It has only really been in the last 1,500 years, 1,700 years that the story, people have been like, oh, it must be allegorical. But prior to that, when this story was written, they took it literally. They meant it literally. So if they meant it literally when they wrote it, who in the hell are we to decide what they mean? That would be like one of you guys reading the book that I wrote in 2002, a book that's called How to Escape Mental Welfare. And you today in 2025 trying to tell people what I meant when I wrote that you have to have a plan of attack for every goal that you have, and then focus on your primary goals that'll make the biggest change in your life and have a plan of attack for those. And then the faster you get that one done, the rest will happen easier. That would be like you trying to go in and reimagine what I meant and what I said. You can't. You cannot. How can you free yourself? By reading a book of slavery, by recognizing that it's a book of slavery. So you free yourself from the religion by realizing that this cannot be a good God, by seeing all the contradictions within it. And that helps you to be able to recognize I don't need to believe in this book, and I can detach myself from the emotional connections that I had with this religion. So this is why we break it down. I'm pretty sure certain Gnostic texts, no, the overwhelming majority, well, there may be some, but the overwhelming majority of Gnostics took this story to be literal because they believed that the God that was in the garden was Yaldabaoth, and that Jesus was the one who came down and told them that they can eat from the tree, that this God is trying to keep them from obtaining knowledge. So they took it literally as well. So we do this thing where we want to make certain groups of people who have similarities in our line of thinking fit more with our line of thinking in every aspect, when the truth is no one fits your line of thinking in every aspect. But we want to rethink them. We want to think of them differently. We want them to be smarter than the average bear. But they took it literally themselves. Right? What up, Marcus? Roland and Roland. So when we see that these people did, this was meant to be a literal story. So they literally believe that this guy created this garden, and that on this day that he ate from this tree that he would die. Now, obviously, this information was passed along to Eve, although the book doesn't expressly tell you, but when she's having a conversation with the serpent, she reiterates these words. But he has the access to the, but he and she have access to the tree of life, which the tree of life is obviously some type of tree that that provides you with immortality. You read from this, you eat from this tree, you maintain your youth. You eat from this tree, you don't die. How do we know this? Because at the end of this, the punchline is that this God says that when we kick them out of the garden, we have to keep them away from the tree of life, or they will live forever. We can't allow man to live forever. Man must die now. So they eat from, so then they know that they're not supposed to eat from this tree of knowledge of good and evil. So let me ask you guys a question. If a person does not know the difference between good and evil, how would they know what death is? And they haven't seen death. This God said, you will die in the day that you eat from this tree. How do they know what death is since they've never seen death? And how do they know that it is evil to disobey this God? And you got other, and obviously, since the serpent is talking to them, you got other beings that they can talk to. How would they know that this guy is the guy I should listen to? How would they know that it is wrong to disobey that guy? Right? There's no way they would know. Yep, we run out of room if people didn't die. Right? They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know, nor would they know that they were doing wrong. I don't even understand your question. When are we to expect the next episode? Maybe you're talking to somebody else. So they wouldn't know what death is. So that would be, imagine if you had a child and your child was about 1, 2, 3 years old, and then you said to your child, don't run out of the street, don't run out into the streets because you might die. A car may hit you and you may die. Does an 18-month-old who can barely walk, do they understand what you're talking about? Would a 2 or 3-year-old really understand what you're talking about? I know my kids, when they was 2 and 3, when I told them you can't play uh, in the front yard without one of your parents being there, they didn't understand the implications of death. And I'm talking 2, 3, 4. They might have started getting it when they was about 5, 6. But in them 1, 2, 3, 4s, they didn't know. They had no idea what death meant. They even might have said stuff like, "Oh, you're gonna die," because they heard it on a show or something, but they didn't know what it means. And Patel, here's the thing, Patel. Although most people will agree that based on this story, they were created as adults, it doesn't matter. Their mentality was that of children. And that's the part. They were children, they had a childlike mind. So they would have been like children in their mind, regardless of if they were created as an adult. But being of such, this God telling them that if you eat from this tree, They don't know the difference. So we're going to focus on this tree of knowledge for a second here. Although in later times, more recent times, people try to make it into something metaphoric and whatnot. It is believed to be a literal tree that allowed for them to be able to know the difference between good and evil. Some, like in the Kabbalic religion, the Kabbalic version of Judaism, look at it as evil had no place in the world. It wasn't connected to the world. But the tree, it was present, but it wasn't inside the world. And when they ate from it, it allowed for evil to mix in with divinity. And evil fed off of divinity and people's desires to be able to pass out judgment. This is also a theme in other forms of Judaism as well, that now man could pass out judgments for the actions of other people and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of philosophizing that they take with this. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to the point of them not knowing the difference. And once their eyes were open to that, then yes, man could judge man. Man could punish man. Man could decide what is moral and what is not moral. So before that, them eating from this tree of life, Adam could have slapped the shit out of Eve and would not have known that that was an immoral thing. Eve could have kicked Adam in the ding ding, and she would not have known that that was an immoral thing to do. They could have just killed out of sport and not have known that that was an immoral thing to do. But once they came into this knowledge of good and evil and have judgment and discernment, now they can decide what is good and what is not good. So, and what does it matter if he tested Eve and not tested Adam? That is a very male-dominated thought process, which I'm surprised. I believe Patel is a woman. I'm surprised that you would allow for such patriarchy to still be a defense mechanism. You know, you do realize that that was written that way, but so that men could dominate women. It was repeated by Paul, so that he can subjugate women. To say, you know, that whole thought process has been used to keep women submissive to men and to treat them like cattle. Now, in the Gnostic point of view, the serpent didn't test them, the serpent enlightened them. So, this tree of knowledge, Eve is tempted, as the Bible says, by the serpent. The Gnostics say that the Jesus character, Poe, came down and helped and told man the truth. The Sumerians say that Enlil decided to make man where man could reproduce, and that was the tree of knowledge, the knowledge of agency of self-reproduction. In either case, the serpent character is the damn hero. The serpent character is the hero, because otherwise man is just walking around in ignorant innocence, just ignorant innocence. And ignorant innocence is not always a good thing. It may seem great most of the time, but that ignorant innocence doesn't let you know that there are moral responsibilities that you have towards yourself and other people and other things and other beings. So it's not a good thing. You know, I've seen people who have mental issues of not being fully developed, and some things of morality they don't get. So for them, if they killed a bird just because it's there, or knocked the bird's nest down just because it's up there, to them, they're not doing anything immoral. Right. The story is actually saying that the deity punished man for educating themselves. The serpent beguiled Eve. How did the serpent beguile Eve? No, he didn't. He told Eve the truth. Adam went along with it. He wasn't beguiled. Here's the thing about it, LaVictor. Adam and Eve, they're together. They both got innocent, childlike minds. Eve eats from the tree. We don't know if Adam was standing right there. He could have been, but it just says she gave him some of the fruit. Once Eve ate from the tree, her eyes opened. She knew the difference between good and evil. So now she is equal to the knowledge of the gods of knowing good and evil. So she can lie, she can beguile herself, she can convince, she can use charisma. But Adam supposedly, he knew what this God said. Don't eat from the tree. No matter what she said to him, Adam still had free will and agency to choose to follow this God. He could have snatched Eve up and been like, girl, you know we weren't supposed to do that. We're going to go talk to God. But he didn't. Instead, and it doesn't say that she beguiled him. It just says she gave him some of the fruit. Now I want you to think about it. Let me get the right voice for this. Now I want you to think about it. You got Eve. She's sitting there. She's sitting there glistening in the sun with that morning dew that he produces every day, glistening over her skin as the drips of sweat go down and drip off of her perky breast. Them thighs is fit and thick, rounding out that nice boom boom. Adam is looking at this specimen of a woman, seeing that smooth skin, that hourglass figure. He been getting some of that nice, nasty, been getting that poom poom. And the poom poom is saying, eat this fruit. Eat this fruit, Adam. Eat it all up with your mouth, Adam. So I don't think she did much beguiling. She didn't do much beguiling. She did some 12 play. 1, 2. She did some 12 play. Even if she was built like an oak tree, that's the only woman he ever seen, so he ain't got nothing to compare it to. All he know is she got the poom poom. She got them nice tatas. I'm just saying, he didn't have to be beguiled. We know that the poom poom is undefeated. So, to get back to it, they ate from the tree of life. They ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Both of them did. And immediately they knew that they were naked. Now, this becomes an interesting thing that automatically they knew that they were naked and they became ashamed. Why would they be ashamed? Who are they to become ashamed in front of the fact of their nakedness? Supposedly, Adam and Eve are the only two people that's in this garden. So if Adam and Eve are the only two people that's in this garden, there's no one to be ashamed of. Like if I walked outside butt naked on my deck, my neighbors could see me, so you cover up, right? But if I live on 20, 30 acres of land, I walk out butt naked on my back porch, nobody can see me. What do I have to be ashamed of? If Angelina walk out there with me and she butt naked, what do we have to be ashamed of? Now, I can walk outside and butt naked with all my neighbors. I'm still not going to be ashamed. But point being, who and why are they ashamed? There's no one else around, right? And they're not ashamed initially. It doesn't talk about them being ashamed of the fact that they disobeyed this God. They're ashamed because they're naked. No, 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 no. You're jumping the gun, Patel. They weren't ashamed because they knew what they did was wrong. It specifically says they saw that they were naked and they were ashamed of their nakedness. And then they quickly went and got fig leaves to cover up their nakedness. Their first shame was because they were naked. Their second shame, number two, was that they heard this God walking in the cool of the day and they hid themselves. They weren't ashamed of what they did as far as this God is concerned. They were afraid of this God. So their shame was in their nakedness, which is something that man has been trying to control for as long as we know in this particular culture. Nope, nope, nope. Yeah, they should have been ashamed that they were ignorant. Yeah. So they're ashamed and they're naked. That makes no sense. Every other animal on the planet, every other thing on the planet is born how they are, and nobody needs anything to cover themselves up. But all of a sudden, man needs clothes. So somebody, I forgot, I saw it scroll up, but they basically just this is grandpa telling his children why they wear clothes and animals don't, and he's just making up some shit. Is what it sounds like. So this whole, but in the story, that's how the story goes. Now, here's the question for you guys, and this is what was on the video that I published earlier today. Who's to blame for this? If this guy planted a tree in the middle of the garden, made the fruit look good, and told them not to eat, and said that you will die in a day that you will eat of this tree, because this tree has the knowledge of good and evil, but he knows that they do not know the difference between good and evil. They do not know what death is. They don't even know what a 24-hour day is. They don't know what disobedience is. They don't know it's bad. They don't know it's good. They don't know none of those things. So if you are the all-powerful, all-knowing God, why would you set them up for failure? Why would you put this in there? This is entrapment. This is entrapment. Right. God must have seen Adam naked beforehand and saw Eve naked beforehand, a little creeper, a little peeping Tom. This God is a peeping Tom. This is this God's fault. Serpents just looking at him walking around naked. The angels looking at him walking around naked. They talking to animals naked. They talking to the serpent naked. They ain't had no problems with it. Then they eat this fruit and all of a sudden they're ashamed of being naked. But this God set them up for the failure. So why? I asked that question. That's the next thought process that I had in the video that I posted earlier today. Why? Why would this God set them up for failure? Because what comes out of this? What comes out of this is all of a sudden man is going to die. Is going to start dying. And man will become fearful of death. And the only saving grace that man will have from this death and from any kind of from what they fear is to worship this God. All of this was done so that this God can create a situation where he will force these people to live in fear and subjugation to him, but be able to blame them for it. You know, God must have had on some clothes because Enlil and Inky and them had on clothes when they was walking around in the garden. So this God, he did all of this to set man up to be in fear of him and fear of death so that man would worship him. This is egotistical and narcissistic. Now, what happens next in the story? This guy walks through, he finds out that they ate from this tree. Hold on, let me see. Coach Rain, do you think that the original writers of the Bible use this ancient teaching story for the indigenous population and remix them to indoctrinate them? I don't know. No, well, this story was a remix from the Sumerian Akkadian story. This is a remix of the Enlil, Enki, and then Harsag Anu story of creating man. So it's just a remix of that. And that's going to be part of the indoctrination of Israelite people because they're going to believe that this is where their line comes from. So this God is now mad at him and tells him, and this is interesting. He tells them that now man has become like us. Now, what did the serpent say? The serpent said that, hey, if you eat from this tree, this God knows that you will become like us. And then this God admits, oh, now man has become like us. So how is the serpent lying? This guy said that man will die in the day that he eats from this tree. Adam and Eve supposedly lived another 900 some odd years. They did not die in the day that they ate from the tree. And like I said in the very beginning of this, before the New Testament was being written, these stories were not meant by the writers nor the readers of this to be taken as an allegory, that they took these stories literally. And the only reason Christians stand on one half of a pinky toe and scream out that, oh, they died in one day of the Lord's day, is because in First Peter, I believe, it says something like, one day unto God is like 1,000 years to man. This was just, that is a metaphor of them trying to say that God is not limited by the time frame of man. But the word that was used there was yom, which means a 24-hour day. So the bullshit of, oh, it's metaphorical, is bullshit. The metaphorical, allegorical statements are just as bullshit as the Bible is bullshit. So the other bullshit that happens is, so we see that the serpent in this story actually didn't lie. It is the God that lies. They didn't die. But the serpent didn't lie and say that you become like the gods, because this God said now that they have become like us, knowing the difference between good and evil, which obviously is the thing that makes you godlike, is knowing the difference between good and evil. Even if you took the Kabbalic mentality or the mystic Judaism mentality and said that now the knowledge of good and evil is man being able to punish and start to create morality, then creating morality, having morals and knowing the difference and growing morally is what makes you gods. So this God recognizes that now man is just like him, knows the difference between good and evil. But what does he do then? Oh, we have to kick them out of the garden, because now that man has this level of agency, of self-determination, of being able to create his own morals, because effectively that's what the knowledge of good and evil does for you. It allows you to create your own morals. We got to kick them out of this garden, because the tree of life is in this garden. And if man can create his own standards of morality, and he has the ability to reproduce himself, and he has the ability to live forever, man will stop worshiping the gods. He'll stop worshiping El. He'll start worshiping Yahweh. The Sumerian case, when he kicked them out of the Garden of Eden, he said that in the Sumerian story, he was like, no, we got to keep them away from our technology that sustains our life, because they will be able to revolt against us and they will not be willing to submit to us. This God of the Bible, which is where the story is coming from, is doing the same thing. He's saying that, hey, if they have access to the tree of life and they know the difference between good and evil and have this agency about themselves, they may not worship me. Because what reason would man need to worship a God? I want y'all to think about that for a second. I know y'all be having 50-level conversations in this chat room. But I want you to focus for a second. Focus. Focus. If man didn't die, would man worship a God? See, I ain't trying to pick on nobody, but this is that, oh, I'm gonna make it metaphorical bullshit. That doesn't, they didn't mean that at all when they wrote this story. Somebody has creatively given this types of idea, but that's not what they meant when they wrote these stories. And if you really want to deconstruct from this, you have to stop trying to take all these new age ideas of reformatting the Bible to make it fit something. Now, Kevin, you might just be sarcastic as hell, like Sean and Tim and Raph and Boondocks and all them. I don't know. Oh, I just see you probably are. See, that's why I don't take y'all seriously. Right. Worship is here for the ones who fit. Mm-hmm. Nope. Wouldn't worship. Yes. This is true, Macy. A true infinite being would not need worship. But wouldn't God eventually offer the tree of life with us knowing good and evil? If so, he could just create us with his knowledge and let us eat from the tree of life from day one. This is true. Could have just created, but God had to test you to see if you would choose him, though, if you would be obedient to him. Because it does say in Revelation that the tree of life is in heaven with this God and produces fruit every season. And of course, the metaphoric people always try to make that seem to be something else. I know you don't worship nothing but yourself, but I'm saying, if in general, the population, if all of a sudden man stopped aging, man did not die, you get stabbed, whatever, you don't die, man would not worship a God. Without the fear of death and the fear of what happens after death, man would not worship a God. God, the ideas of gods would have died out a long time ago. So the only reason he got to, so this is why he got to kick them out of the Garden of Eden, because if they ate from the tree of life, and in the Sumerian teachings, this was knowledge, this was technology that allowed for them to be able to live for these hundreds of thousands of years, then, you know, they had to get out the garden. Then he put a cherubim with a flaming sword to block the gateway to the Garden of Eden, and so on and so forth. But before doing so, he had to dole out some punishments, because he knows the difference between good and evil. And when you know the difference between good and evil, you got to dole out some punishment. Oh, you talking about my hat? The cowboy hat didn't work right with what I got on. It'll work right with the shirt, but the rest of the outfit, it wouldn't work right. So I had to throw a different hat on there. We talking about my hats, man. So anyway. Yep. We're gonna be any afterlife claim. Dooming your children, it certainly isn't love. So anyway, beyond some of the you lost by the second verse on the first page, brother, that statements make no sense. That makes no sense. That's one of those I really ain't got nothing to say, so I'm gonna say something that makes it sound like I got something to say, but I ain't got nothing to say kind of statements. So now he got to dole out some punishments. And the punishment that he has to dole out is the fact that, oh, Adam, now you're going to have to work hard all the laborers of your day, right? This is how they tricking poor people into keep working. You got to work hard, the labor of the sweat of your brow. Eve, the reason why now your punishment is that you're now going to be saved through childbirth, and that your children and the serpent will always be at odds with each other. And serpent, you're now going to crawl on the ground and eat dust. Now, there's a few things that's wrong with that. First of all, we know that snakes don't eat dust. That's the first thing. Second thing we know is that all serpents don't crawl on their belly, right? So that don't make any sense, because it just says a serpent. Third thing, it's kind of effed up that it's saying that women are now saved through childbirth. So what if a woman believes in these religions, but she doesn't have a baby? Is she now not saved? Have you ever thought about that? That women got a double dose that they got to go through. You got to have pain in childbirth, and then now with Christianity, believe in Jesus. In Judaism, the woman had to follow all 613 commandments and rules and shit, and have a baby and go through childbirth in order to be forgiven by this God. Why punish the serpent? Doesn't make sense. Because whatever old ass grandfather was telling this story, he had to explain why snakes crawl on it, why snakes slither. Most other animals on the land got legs of some sort. Insects, animals, they got legs. Some little kid, granddaddy, why the snake? Why he ain't got no legs like all the rest of them? Oh, what happened what happened is that the serpent, the snake, he had legs at one point, but he was a wily rascal. And there was this garden, and in the garden you had Adam and Eve, first man, first woman. They your great grandpa and grandma. And what had happened was, so he was telling some bullshit story to his grandkids. See? I knew doing this I was gonna get that. It wasn't a serpent, it was a beast formed like a man. Where do y'all get this stuff from? Like, what non-historical, non-scholastic person do y'all get this shit from? See? Ain't got nothing to do with the Satan and Job. Ain't got a damn thing to do with the Satan and Job. That is something that was merged together in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th century. Do y'all study, or y'all just listen to some pastor or some bullshit doctrine and just run with it? Do y'all ever look beyond? Like, seriously? You can Easily go back and see when the serpent, Satan, Lucifer, the devil, the beast all got merged into one being. And y'all just run with it because Pastor said so. That's because y'all know that the story itself is bullshit. The story itself is bullshit. Because if the angels were if the angels that rebelled against God were Lucifer and Satan and were cast down to earth, how the hell is Satan back up in heaven with God, walking to and fro? You see how that don't make sense? Like, I don't think you really got to have some cognitive dissonance. And then the whole thing, well, the serpent was really a man dressed up, it was in a beastly form and had horns on his head and a forked tongue, and he represents he represents the tree that grew out of the side of the tree of life in an awkward direction, and it represents the energies of man being cast down to the matter form from his spiritual form, and the Yardaboff wanted to keep him there, and then the serpents on the dark side of the moon to surf up the energy, and it's like conspiracy theory. Ooh, sound good. It's a made up story, Robert. It's made up. It's made up. There has never been a talking serpent. It would have been better if they said that, and the parrot flew to the tree of knowledge while Eve was standing near it. And the parrot spoke to Eve. A parrot would have been a better situation. But the problem is they didn't have parrots. I guarantee you, if they had the kind of parrot that can talk in the Levant, that it wouldn't be a serpent, it'd be a parrot. I know, Will, the parrots are in South America, but I'm just saying, if they had the parrots they would have changed the story to be a parrot. So, Coach Rain, do you think that the Bible wasn't decoded and made allegorical by the biblical authors until much later, possibly by Francis Bacon and King James, as part of the KVJ Bible or other writers? Well, the KVJ Bible is one of the worst translations of the oldest text that we have of any of this Bible. It is a horrible translation from the Septuagint, which is the Greek, Koine Greek that was translated from the Aramaic, or ancient Hebrew, which is horrible. Which it has its own mistakes as well. But no, the Bible wasn't coded in allegories. When these people wrote these stories, they literally thought that there was a burning bush. They literally thought that the Red Sea split. They literally thought that their people escaped from Egypt. They literally thought that Adam and Eve were the first man and woman. And through the line of Seth comes up to Noah, and from Noah and his 3 sons comes the Israelites, who are the chosen people of this God. They literally believe these things. So there is no allegorical code written into it. They thought it literally. Why is that? I don't understand. I really don't. And that's why I get passionate about it. I really don't understand. What up, boss lady? I really don't understand how people can't see that. You can read a Shakespeare play and then make up your own bullshit of what he really meant. But what did Shakespeare mean when he wrote his play Romeo and Juliet? He meant what he said. He meant what he meant, not what you want to make it mean. So back to what I was talking about. But before I get there, let's have a momentary break to say that, hey, October 31st to November 1st, we are meeting here in San Antonio. The link for the Drury Plaza Hotel, where you're going to get discounts and you're going to have a free breakfast and a free snack dinner on each day, is in the description of this video. We're going to have meetups in different places. So I look forward to everybody being here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. Now, back to this video. See, quick commercial. Now, so he punishes the snake, he punishes Eve, punishes the Adam. And I didn't see it, but if you guys said anything concerning the fact that a woman, this book is so patriarchal. First, it blames Eve for being the one who was beguiled by the serpent, as they say. She was the one who disobeyed, but Adam, old punk ass, because she got that good poom poom, just went ahead and took it. Then Adam tried to blame Eve, and then Eve tried to blame the serpent. So it's funny because back in the day, I did a poem called Adam Was a Punk. I wish I could find it. It was a poem I did called Adam Was a Punk. So they all blame each other. And the serpent ain't got shit to do. He's just like, oh well. So then they get kicked out of the garden. And now Adam and Eve, there's not much else about them after that. You don't know, except for when they died, when Adam died. It doesn't say anything about Eve dying. It goes into them having children. They had Cain and Abel. And then after Cain kills Abel, they have Seth. And then Seth is the first one who starts worshiping. It says that Seth was the first one to start calling upon the name of the Lord. And that is meaning that Seth is the first one who started worshiping this God. And why would Seth be worshiping this God? Because after he's born, he finds out that, damn, there was another person who was alive, and that dude hit him with a rock, and he killed him, and he's not alive anymore. He started, all the liquid juice inside of him started flowing out, and he stopped breathing. Death. Now they know death is real. Yeah, they might have known death was real when God killed whatever animal he killed to cover them up because the fig leaves was chafing Adam. You know, I think the fig leaves may have been giving Eve, a little UTI. And, you can't get the poom poom when the UTI is in there. So they skinned some animals. He had skinned some animals so they can wear some animals instead of wearing the fig leaves that they had originally sewn for themselves. So now they start worshiping this guy, which is the whole master plan. The whole master plan of the Adam and Eve story is you got to worship this God because of death, because of the fear of death. Because without that, ain't nobody worshiping this God. I mean, nobody will worship any God. You take death out of the equation, there is no worship. And I like this statement. Ignorance is the root of all evil. It certainly, I like that one. And the beauty of ignorance is that ignorance can be overcome. And I saw a statement. There are some outside texts, and if you were reading like some of the gnostic texts, like the secret writings of John or the origin of the world, which are gnostic texts, it talks about Jesus was the one in the garden who was trying to help man and he was sent down from the Pleroma in order to get man to start gaining knowledge so they can escape and return back to the Pleroma. Those Gnostic ones will also say Sophia. I've never seen one that says Lucifer or Lilith, but with the Lilith story, why would Lilith come back and help Adam and Eve? Well, unless she was trying to mess him up. So, but Lilith already was self-determining based on the Kabbalic story. See, I know that Adam and Eve weren't real, but they were not any constellations. Them people were not looking at constellations. They believe this story was how their tribe came into existence. And then there are stories where Eve had sex with the serpent and also had sex with Adam. Cain was the from the seed of the serpent, and Abel was the seed of Adam, and that's why they fought each other and da da da. And it's just so much bullshit. People just and you gotta think about it. These. There is no difference in the Gnostics taking that old story and flipping it around to make it fit their narrative to people today, taking that same story and trying to flip it around and make it into constellations, trying to make it into allegories. Instead of looking back and saying, what did the people who wrote that story, what did it mean to them? What did it mean to those people? And yes, Christianity claims that it's going to grant you eternal life. Isn't that the greatest scam? Hey, if you follow all my rules, then you're going to have everlasting life when you die. I can't give it to you right now. You're going to have this heaven. You're going to have this joy. You're not going to feel pain. You're not going to have to deal with any of those things. You're going to be great, outstanding after you die. After you die. See, here goes some of that bullshit. Cain and Abel were the seed of Yahweh. So Yahweh essaying Mary wasn't his first essaying. Yahweh essayed Eve to have Cain and Abel, who turned out to one murder the other one. And see, that's why Yahweh protected Cain, right? That's why he protected Cain instead of punishing Cain. Right. You see what I'm saying? You're just making up stuff, or somebody made something up. It sounded good to you, so you jump on it. And yes, the Sethians are the one who, but the Sethians, they say that the serpent, the devil. Oh no, you're right. Yardabaoth. Sorry. So Yahweh, yes. The Sethians teach that bullshit. And these are Gnostics who decided, I'm gonna change the story to fit my narrative. Man, you've been talking trash about who you are since the first time you came on here. You ain't about to split no land amongst my brothers, and I'm gonna show you who God is. What, you gonna go out somewhere and buy 100 acres of land and split it amongst your brothers and then claim yourself to be God? Start you a nice David Koresh type of organization? What up, Christopher? I saw something. Where did I see? But I want you to think about this for a second. I know what I was thinking about. Yes. So if this guy was real and this religion was real, and if people were and if this guy said, okay, whoever worship me in truth and honor, and you follow my commandments and da da da, all this bullshit, I will grant you immortality, and I will you won't feel pain, You will live a great life. It's going to be heaven on earth. And when other people see that you getting this, it's going to cause them to worship, to fall in line. They're going to worship too, you know? Wouldn't you follow that God then? It's an easy solution. Come down, say, hey, I'm giving away eternal life right now. I'm giving away peace right now. I'm giving away health right now. You're going to have wealth and riches right now, not later on. Where's that? Where that'll stop the show right then. Shit, I'll be slaughtering the lamb, burning the innards, pouring the ashes down the river. I'll be on it. And yep, the actual truth that Christianity was spread by a sword, and those deaths are just mounting up more and more. Mm. I wouldn't want Christianity to be real just so that we have to do with the bullshit, because we would still have the bullshit. It needs to be rewritten, that's for sure. Christianity needs to be rewritten. I like this one. The soul is already eternal, so how could any other person grant you eternal life? It's like telling my friend, it's like telling my friend gave me the ability to breathe, even though he knows how to breathe. And I like when they say that. How do you know God? How, prove God exists. You breathing right now. How come I breathe whether God exists or not? That's part of existence. But these are good reading material, but I wouldn't read them to believe them as far as the God aspect of any of them. The Gospel of Thomas is good. Stoicism is good, especially the Emperor's Handbook, Marcus Aurelius is writing. I love the Tao. The Tao is great. The Bhagavad Gita, you still got some bullshit, but in all of those, you still gonna have some bullshit. And the Corpus Hermeticum is definitely better than the Emerald Tablets. Doriel is a little suspect, but he does have some good information in there. What did John ask? John, where you been? You can prove your breathing, but you can't prove you just took your last breath. This is true. Well, for a split moment, you're gonna know when you took that. If you're awake, you're gonna know you took that last breath. Depending on how you're going, you got that split second of oh shit, but it's minuscule amount of time. Debbie, I can't stand that one. I can't stand that one, Debbie. You wake up every day because God wakes you up. Nope, the alarm clock on my phone wakes me up. That's what wakes me up every day. The alarm clock. The alarm clock. Or the sunrise. I don't know. My wife just put some dark blinds on some dark some shit blinds on the curtains in the bedroom now. So even the sunrise don't wake me up. I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm saying that the Bible has been edited, changed so many times over the years that we don't have the original writings used during those times. No, we don't. We have nothing is the original writings. I mean, you have no original writings of pretty much anything back in the day. Like whether we're talking about the Iliad or the Odyssey, the Quran, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao. We have no original writings of none of those things. So we have no original writings. We get copies of copies of copies of copies of copies of copies. And just like anything that is copied by hand and copied by man, there are going to be changes to it. It would be cool to have the original teachings of Sir Dr. Gupta. That would be cool, but we don't really have the original teachings. We don't know if what you got is the real teachings or even the understanding that he was trying to convey about the Eightfold Path. Do we really have it? Because we know there are different versions of Buddhism because things have changed. See what I'm saying? So all these stories we have as close to the original as possible based on the copies that have been copied. We are probably living in a time frame where in 1,000 years or 2,000 years, people will have access to original writings of certain materials. I can't, how far back could we really go? We could probably go back as far as some serious, like quality original writings of things. Maybe the further back you go, the less it becomes. Like we will have more original writings from the 1500s than we would have from like the 500s. Now the things that are written in stone, that's going to be more original. Right, because even when the Dead Sea Scrolls, even those have differences, a lot of differences from what is in the books in the Bible. But I doubt very seriously even if the Vatican would have original texts from 1st century or 2nd century or 3rd century. You got to remember, the Vatican doesn't get its power until 325 when it first to get power, but really doesn't get its power until 382. So around 382 is when the Vatican really gets its power. Now, depending upon what Ptolemy was able to get in Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria. Now, this is just my belief. I have no proof of this at all. No proof. I don't think that the information that was in the Library of Alexandria was destroyed. I would think that Pope Leo probably had all that shit transferred to the Vatican. So the most original things that probably would be in existence would be what the Vatican took from the Library of Alexandria in Egypt. That's probable. And so that would mean that the oldest library of texts from that region, well, in the world for the most part, would be Ptolemy was what? Around 300, 300, 400 BCE. Well, no, 200, 300, 200 BCE, around that time frame, leading into the 100s before he was in. So yeah, that's about the oldest. But then beyond that, nah, ain't gonna be no original letters of these people. You find a little scrap. They find a little scrap that's about this big, and all of a sudden they can, oh, we got a whole story. That's what the Bible believers say. Like they got a scrap of a piece of book of Mark, and then they say, oh, the whole book must be true because we got this scrap. The book that scrap comes from, you have no idea how many changes have happened since that scrap. And this Genesis story, the whole Old Testament been reworked from the 700s up until 200 CE. The Old Testament was edited like a champ. Who said that? I thought Pope Leo burned down the Library of Alexandria. I could be wrong. When was the Library of Alexandria burned? No, I see what you're saying. It had a series of fires. There was a fire that was started during the time frame Caesar occupied Alexandria in 48 BCE, likely caused some damage, but unclear to the extensiveness of the damage or the destruction. Further damage and destruction occurred in the 3rd century CE, possibly during the Aurelian siege. Ultimately, the Serpium, the major library and temple, was destroyed in 391 AD by Bishop Theophilus. Sorry. Oh, so I was saying Leo. It's Theophilus. It was ultimately destroyed in 641 to 642 by Muslim conquerors. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Bishop Theophilus took a bunch of shit. Well, being different fires, I can see that. I mean, think about any old building that survived for centuries upon centuries. It probably is going to go through some issues quite a few times. This is the way I look at it, Christopher. History is pretty much written by the conqueror, but history is also can be found out by those who were conquered and surrounding nations. All of them are going to have a different perspective. Certainly, the conquered are going to have a different perspective than the conqueror. So I read all sides of it. Read the conqueror story. Read the ones who will conquer story if you can. And then I read the story of all the close nations around them. Somewhere within all of that, there's nuggets of truth on all sides. Yeah. Walking around with torches and candles amongst papyrus, that's probably not the best situation. That they reading shit under candlelight, probably not the best situation. Is there any true knowledge of creation or of the beginning of existence? It is concealed from the masses. Yeah, that's true. Knowledge of creation, singularity. The earth being bombarded and formed and around well, our star being born in a solar nursery, then separating itself from that nebula, and then all the materials that move with it formed into planets and moons and whatnot, and over bombardment for billions of years, being in the right spot and distance from the sun as it grew, life began. There is no poofing of our universe. How, shit, y'all writing too fast. How do you get over the losing side when the winning side rewrites history? But usually, if the losing side has been able to sustain themselves to a certain degree, they will keep their own history. But that's the challenge. What's your thought process on our reality, who we are, where we come from, what's our next destination? You believe in reincarnation? Do you think it's a goal or a trap? Thoughts of our reality is that we all live in our own little universe, and sometimes they intersect with one another, but we exist on this matter plane of existence in the conscious state within the poverty of this meat suit that we call a body. Where our consciousness comes from, it is energy. Energy has always been here. That energy will never be destroyed, but it doesn't look the same or act the same or even know of itself in the same manner on a consistent basis. We just happen to be ourselves right now. When this body dies and that consciousness leaves, that energy leaves this body, it will become some other forms of energy attracted to others like energies and become something else. It may become another sentient being. It may just float in space and disperse its energy into any and everything else the same way the body does in the ground. We will never know because we won't be conscious to know it, which is why no one has ever died and come back. Near-death experiences is not death. Death is death. The consciousness never returning to this body, this meat suit. But that energy continues to live on, just as it was living on before you came into existence. But you don't know what it was doing. So there is no afterlife of yourself, maintaining yourself. Let me catch up to what y'all are. Oh, I haven't seen this one. You saying that in 2020, National Geographic did an article showing that the Dead Sea Scrolls were proven to be fakes and all forgeries. Oh, I gotta look that up. I haven't heard that one. I was going to watch Jupiter Ascending today. I won't get a chance to watch it tomorrow because I'll be out of the house pretty much all day tomorrow until about probably about 10 o'clock, about 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So when I leave tomorrow morning, I will not be in the house, but I'm gonna try to watch it Friday afternoon. Let me see, 2020 National Geographic Dead Sea Scrolls forgery. So 5 were confirmed to be fake, and now reports Michael Greskoff for National Geographic, a study commission in the museum, has reached an even more damning conclusion that none of the textual fragments in the Museum of the Biblical Dead Sea Scroll collections are authentic. I might have to research that and do a video about it tomorrow. I have to do a lot more research on it. I see the Smithsonian did an article on it. You know, I used to believe that there were levels to this, that we maintained our consciousness and we went to higher form, higher levels. That is a hope that I have. I hope that I can raise my consciousness to such a level of strength that when this body, there's a big ass fucking hawk that just flew past my window. Sorry. But I hope that my consciousness is raised to a level of such high vibration that it will maintain its cohesion, and I will then create or raise to some higher level of consciousness, but knowing of myself. Hope. But there is absolutely nothing that would suggest that that hope will be fulfilled. Everything that we know about this universe says that that is not going to happen. I hope that there is something about the universe that we don't know, and that it proves that our knowledge now to be incorrect. But most likely, when I leave this existence, there will be no further consciousness of me. I will not face a judgment being me, nor will I probably elevate and exist on some plane all energetic. I've ascended. It's a good hope. That's about it. And I know most people don't like that. People want to live forever. This is why I cherish every day. This is why I cherish every moment. This is why you don't see me getting all caught up into frivolous conversations or debates, because it's like, why? It's a waste of the moment. So it's just a ceasing of existence. Yeah. Kind of like when you turn your computer off, shit just stop. Ain't nothing running in the background. You just become part of the universe without consciousness of it. But what you, but the whole Jesus thing, believing in some God, if your mind does stay intact and based on what you believe is what you get, there's a whole lot of people going to be torturing the shit out of themselves. I know, didn't see that film. Heretic, isn't that the one where the two girls come to that man's house to I don't know, two girls come to a man's house to tell him about Jesus or something like that, and they come in the house and then he trying to kill them or something like that. I think the trailer said that. Movie Heretic. Yeah, I didn't see that movie. Not really my kind of movie. The ooh, let's kill him up, jump scares and all that shit. You know, it took y'all to make me watch the movies Sinners, and I'm glad that I saw Sinners, but I usually don't even watch those type of movies. You must be talking to somebody else because that statement don't make sense to me. Oh shit, y'all going too far. too fast. I was reading something. Ooh, y'all writing storybooks. The Truman Show, that was good. I like that one. Y'all are having so many little side conversations. I don't even know who's talking to me and who ain't. There are quotes in that was said by the man in Heretic, True Religion is Control. I can believe it. Hello, voiceover by Stephanie. Late as usual. Had to get it in there. So while y'all are having all these side conversations, let me tell you one more time. One more time. In the description of this video, you will find a link for the Drury Plaza Hotel at Riverwalk. When you click on that link, you will see the opportunity to reserve your room for October 31st through November 2nd, where we will be having our Free Thinkers meetup. The hotel will be providing a free breakfast as well as a free supper time snack. We will be enjoying those, which will save you some money. We will also have meetups at the Chinese Tea Garden on that Saturday afternoon. That Friday night, for those who arrive in enough time frame, we will have a meetup at Devil's River on the patio where you can purchase small snacks, cigars. Well, you can bring your cigars if you want to. And Devil's River, the agave is the best. But you don't have to purchase anything at all at Devil's River. We're just going to have our Friday night meetup for those people who arrive early enough in the day to be able to meet up. So we'll probably start that meetup around 8 p.m. My wife and I will probably be there around 6, but 8 p.m. for everybody else. On Saturday, we will meet at the Japanese Tea Garden for a Q&A conversation in a beautiful, wonderful garden space. There will be food there that you can purchase from the place, but the place entry is free. I'm trying to make as many things free as possible. Later that evening, after your supper, we will have another meetup, if you're wanting to, at the Drury Hotel at one of their pools, whether the indoor pool or the outdoor pool, depending upon the weather. And on Sunday, before everyone leaves, or for those who have late flights or driving away, we will have another meetup, but we haven't decided where yet. But it will be somewhere within walking distance of the Drury Plaza Hotel, downtown San Antonio. So I look forward to you guys being here October 31st to November 2nd for the first meetup that I have ever done. Since y'all talking about everything else right now. If it was driving distant, you would definitely come. Where are you? Who's that? Who said that? Where you at, Kevin? It's driving distance. If it's San Antonio's in the center of America, that means it's within 2 days drive for almost anybody. It ain't nothing but a plane ride. And if you make your reservations sooner than later, then the plane ticket round trip will probably only cost you about $200. It's nothing but a plane ride. If you get your tickets now sooner than later, your airline tickets, it will probably only cost you about $200. I ain't looking for your excuses, Stephanie and Kevin. Just want you're gonna be here. It's May. What month are we in? It's June. You got pretty much 5 months. You pretty much got 5 months. And if you eat at the hotel, breakfast and the supper snack, you probably only purchasing one meal for yourself for the rest of the day. So in that instance, it saves you some money. The only other thing that it was going to cost you, and people can gather together on this, is to share a ride to the Japanese tea garden, which is about a $15 Uber ride. So you figured 4 people riding on that Uber trip, split the $15 there, $15 back. It's dollars. So go reserve your rooms. Click on the link in the description of this video. And y'all get to reserving. Right now we have a block of 15 rooms. We can go over the block, but we need at least 11 of those rooms filled. Otherwise, I got to pay for them. And we're not doing that. People speaking in tongue is just people who have been emotionally caught up into the vibration of the music and the preaching based on their life experiences, and they are mimicking what they have seen being done by other people. This is why everybody who speaks in tongue always seems to say the same shit. And if you were to go back and look at old videos of people speaking in tongue, it was different than what people do now. But all those people 30 years ago were doing the same, they had the same cadences, the same words. And now they got different words, different cadences, because now they've learned a few Hebrew words, and so they throw some Hebrew words in there. But the other people around them don't know that those are Hebrew words. But it's just a learned behavior and something that happens when they get caught up emotionally. And when children do it, they're just copying their parents and the other people. I remember when it used to be and then it turned to like it's the same. They whatever becomes the one that people start seeing the most from the bigger churches or the more ones that are published, then all of a sudden it changes to that. I shit about a Honda. But that's all it is. So did you see the video? Did you see the video I did with the lady who claimed that her son had demons, and then she murdered her son, and she let him lie in the bed for 2 weeks, thinking that once the demons leave his son, he would wake. And now she's going to be prosecuted. And I hope she's put under the jail. But there is no such thing as exorcism. These are just people who have emotional problems or mental problems. And the only way, and the way people try to explain it is the fact that they were having demons. There is no exorcisms. There are no demons that jump in people. These are just people with their own problems. These are people who, some of them suffer from, people who probably were suffering from bipolarism was claimed to have demons in them. Schizophrenic people, demons. Like the man who was supposedly tied and chained to the rock was probably just schizophrenic. But all this speaking in tongue is just a learned behavior, emotional. I guarantee that if, okay, no Muslims speak in tongue. Nobody speaks in tongue. If you go to Israel, you can excuse Muslims, okay, but if you were to go to churches in Europe, nobody speaks in tongues. You go to churches in Israel, nobody speaks in tongues. The speaking in tongues is really more of a Protestant evangelical thing, but nobody else does. Just like the rapture is a Protestant creation. Speaking in tongues is a Protestant creation that nobody else does. You ain't gonna go to a Catholic church. Ain't nobody speaking in tongues in a Catholic church. You go to a Christian church in Israel, ain't nobody speaking in tongues. No persons, and even casting out demons is something that, as far as the layman doing it, is only something that Protestants do. In the other versions of the religion of Christianity, only the priest can perform exorcism. Yeah. You went to a Mormon church and they start speaking in tongues because Mormonism comes out of Protestantism. When you look at the line of it all, you got Catholics, and then everything that came out of Catholicism is Protestant, from the Protestant Reformation. Yeah, and the lady is claiming that the Bible is the thing that allows her to have killed her child, but she will go to jail. It will not stand up in court. It never has. Every time somebody claims that, it never stands up in court. Which should tell you something, that we are more moral than the Bible. I don't believe in the out of Africa theory because there is more proof of the out of Africa theory. The out of Africa theory is not really a theory, it's more of a fact. Until you find some humanoids that migrated out of some other part of the world older than what we have found out of Africa, it's not a theory, it's right now a fact. So you would have to find life in the Americas that was existing as humans older than what is found out of Africa. How do you feel about African religions? Same way as any other religion. It's a made up spirituality based on nature. Now, I do think that theirs is closer to just being a natural religion instead of being some God fearing, go to hell, burn up forever kind of thing. If I had to follow a religion, it would probably be either an African religion or a Eastern religion. Stop. Okay, believe. I don't believe in nothing. I either know something or I don't. But to believe in something is to say that I'm going to accept this as fact without any proof. And the reality of life is I don't need belief. I look at myself and I know that I have consciousness, I have agency, I know that this is my hand. So I don't need to believe in life. I can see my life. All life didn't start in one spot, but all Homo sapiens came from one spot. Yes. We have not found Homo sapiens older than the Homo sapiens found in Africa and nowhere else. Just because there's life everywhere doesn't mean there were Homo sapiens everywhere. Are penguins everywhere? No. There has never been a penguin fossil found anywhere in the northern hemisphere. So there are forms of life that starts in one spot. and doesn't go far from that spot or stays in that general vicinity. There are signs of life in Australia that has never left Australia. A kangaroo has never been found anywhere but Australia. Brahman didn't start nothing. Brahman ain't no different than El. He didn't start nothing. It's a creation by people in India. Let me catch up to y'all. Y'all typing too damn fast. So where is life going ahead? Wherever we choose for it to go. Whatever we put importance on, whatever we focus on, that's where life goes. Unless the earth or the sun or some other celestial body collides with earth or a massive ass solar flare, we decide where life is and where life is going to go. Yes, camels are indigenous to America. Horses are indigenous to the Americas. And then during the last couple of ice ages, they migrated across the Bering Strait. We can see that in the fossil record. That is my point. You cannot see that in the fossil record of Homo sapiens being in South America or North America or any other place before it was in Africa. So all these people, as civilizations develop, people develop these ideas of gods and these ideas that their God created the universe, their God created the earth, their God created their specific people group. Everybody thinks that. Whether you're looking at Yoruba, you're looking at Brahmins, you're looking at the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Hopi, every religion, a God created the universe, created the earth, and then created those exact people. Now, there's something suspicious about that when everybody has the same story and are claiming the exact same thing happened in a different way and that it all pertains to their own people group. So we can, and here's the low vibrational thing to me is to get caught up because of melanin count in your skin to try to say something different, to get caught up in nationhood because you were born in this country and you want to make it seem like you're doing the same thing that they did back then. I want to make it all start here in America because this is where we came from. Because you don't like what happened in history. Because you feel more connected to this religion or that religion. It's all these personal things that people get stuck on. Instead of just saying, where are the facts? And for all the information, all the evidence that we have right now, critical thinking, we gather all the information that we have right now. We gain an understanding of it. And we let that become wisdom. Now, if some new facts are presented, then we gain a new understanding. If they find out, digging up something and find out that Homo sapiens been in the Americas 2 million years ago. Well, what's the oldest Homo sapiens fact? Let me see. Because I don't want to say a number and all of a sudden somebody says, well, they did, Ron. The oldest Homo sapien remains. And you better not come up and say that fucking Lucy. The oldest confirmed Homo sapien remains are found in Jebel in Morocco, dating back approximately 300,000 years. So, Homo sapiens, which is what we are, Morocco. What continent is Morocco on? Now, if we dig up some more new shit, that's great. That's outstanding. But until such a time, no, I ain't no homo nothing. Neanderthal. Our species, Homo sapiens, diverged from the lineage of the Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, around 600,000 years ago. Evolving in Africa, Homo sapiens attempted to spread new lands to multiple occasions. And that's a whole, but see, that's a whole other question. See, we, for the most part, we are not Neanderthals. There are certain people groups who still have Neanderthal genes. And most people, most scientists agree that they were bred out. Now you had Homo erectus in Africa. Got anything older? Anything older? Anything older? Anything? Yeah. So you find me a variation of something like us in another country? Sure. And I've seen the research what shows that like Europeans and Asians still carry levels of Neanderthal genes, but they were bred out. So, but they not us. Meaning, even, and when I say us, I mean everybody on the planet. Everybody on the planet. The current European is mostly Homo sapien. Only what is it, like 2 or 3% or some shit like that? That's Neanderthal genes. What percentage of Neanderthal genes still exist? That may not be the right way to ask that question. Okay, up to 3.4 to 7.9%. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. In general, percentage of Neanderthal and Aryan genes and African descent. Excluding individuals who of primary African descent, is estimated to be around 1 to 4%. Now, mind you, that's 1 to 4% of people who are carrying Neanderthal genes. So the overwhelming majority of the people on the planet are not carrying Neanderthal genes. 1%, there's 8 billion people on the planet. 1% of 8 billion is what? Is 8 million? So only 8 million people. So from anywhere from 8 million to 16 million people are carrying Neanderthal gene, right? So that's a spit in the bucket. That's a spit in the ocean, rather. So damn, and even those people are mostly carrying Homo sapien genes. So that means mother came out of Africa. because Homo sapiens came out of Africa. So it depends on what you're calling man. I wouldn't call Neanderthal modern day man. And they're not. Modern day man are Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens split from the common ancestor. I don't have my board up because it fell down, because my chair knocked it over. But normally I would draw this up. But you had the common ancestor. You had a split from that common ancestor that started with the Homo erectuses and the Homo whatever. And then other splits happened to Neanderthal, and another split happened to Homo sapiens. So you got all these different splits. And then when the Homo sapien came up out of Africa, they bred out or killed the Neanderthals and everybody else who was walking around like they had some walk around money. But what we didn't do was evolve from monkeys. Please stop at that part. Common ancestor, right? From that common ancestor, you had the different Homo species. Oh, it's 80 million. Thank you. You have the split between the other species of Homo everything else. You had the great apes split from the common ancestor. You had monkeys split from the common ancestor, and you had baboons, I believe, is the other one that split from the common ancestors. So you got a common ancestor, the palm of my hand, but the Homo creators came from this line, great apes this line, monkeys this line, baboons that line. So we did not come, so the Homo whatevers don't come from the monkeys. The monkeys are over here. They didn't jump from the monkeys and become Homo whatever. What is the common ancestor? We don't know. But based on the fact of the genetics and the DNA and all of that stuff, there must have been some common ancestor. There was some common ancestor, right? And the modern day chimps and apes and stuff are the evolution from that. And here was funny. You say, if there is no proof, then forget it. But all the stuff you've been saying, you have no proof of it. It amazes me that people say, well, we ain't got proof of this. I believe this, but we ain't got no proof. But if you say something else and there's no proof, then your proof don't matter. The proof that we have is DNA, is genetics. There's more evidence. So let me not say the proof to make you feel happy. The evidence that we have is in the DNA, it's in the genetics, right? Now, everything on the planet shares common DNA, everything. But when you look at the percentages, you can see the distance from it. What was it? How much common DNA do humans share with apples? Humans and apples share a 40%, is estimated around 40% that we share the same DNA with an apple. An apple. Now, what does that mean? That means that we come from the same planet. That's all it means. Come from the same planet. Now, it doesn't mean we came from apples because it's only 40%. But when we look at the great apes and we look at the monkeys and we look at the baboons and all that shit, the percentages are higher. The percentages gets up into like 98%. So once you get high enough, that's where the common ancestor come into play. And if you don't understand that science, that's fine. I can't simplify it any more so than that. If your belief is that, oh, humans and apples don't share DNA, I can't do nothing for you. I can't do a damn thing for you. That just means we all come from Earth. You know. Now, if you can find, that would be some shit. If there is something on the Earth that does not share, is there anything on the Earth that does not share DNA with humans? So viruses use RNA instead of DNA in their genetic material. So the viral world doesn't seem to share DNA. I'll have to do some research on this. This is interesting. Sorry, let me not get distracted. That's interesting. Huh. Does the apple have a clone or self? No, it's not complex enough. It's not a complex enough to have that level of consciousness. Having a soul is just having a level of consciousness where you recognize the agency of self. That's all a soul really is. Is it possible that the common ancestor is one tribe or one clan? At one point, it might have been, but probably a larger multiple tribes in the same area. Because they're going to have to reproduce and have enough variety to reproduce without killing itself off. Like, this is why the Noah story just is an impossibility, because the Noah story, it wouldn't create enough genetic variety. I think that the number is somewhere around 16,000, that you need 16,000 different members in order to have enough genetic variety to be able to create, all that we are. Oh, but humans also have RNA? Okay, so there we go. That's why I just said this seems interesting. I'm going to have to do some research on this. Right, viruses hijack the DNA of the host to reproduce. Oh, we must have some medical people out here. The medical people are stretching their legs. But as far as this whole spirit soul thing that I see that some of you guys are talking about, he said the apple doesn't have soul, but it has prana or chi in it. That's the thing. It takes a incredibly complex being to have the consciousness of self-awareness and self-actualization to then have a soul. Now, everything on the planet has a certain level of consciousness, but it may not be a consciousness of self-awareness. Now, that might be the prana or the chi that was mentioned. Because even molecules and atoms and electrons and protons are attracted to things and repelled from things. There is some level of consciousness at work. This is why the Hermetics say as above, so below, as above, and have the law of correspondence, which talks about the spiritual mind, the human mind, and the plant mind, the animal mind, and the atomic mind. That there is still mind at work. It's just not complex enough to have self-awareness and agency, because it is still energy and it vibrates. And that energy still transmute and join in and become parts of other things. But to have a soul, you have that, or what people call a soul, is just self-awareness. Now, you know, there are some studies that is showing that Neanderthals did begin to migrate, um, and some may have attempted to migrate into North Africa, and then got their ass whooped. So even a roach will flee for his life. They sure will. They got enough consciousness to do that. Because this freaking water bug tried to show up in my house the other day, and that bastard was running. He ended up dying. And I hate those things. Especially when you go out in the garage and them fuckers, you raise the garage up and they come running in the garage because they was along the crack between the garage and the driveway. Little bastards. No, Casey, no. I know what you're saying, but no. Just because somebody is an idiot and stupid, they still have self-awareness. Uh, yes, now they may be low vibrational, Casey. Like I think a person who's a serial killer, a person who hurts children, person who murders, period, that's not self-defense, or I think they have a low vibration. Yes, it was the paper I read some time ago. It was an incredibly small number that tried to migrate, and that's why you don't find people of African descent. Ooh, with Neanderthal DNA. So for all those people who be claiming, oh, we was already here, we was already here in America. Where's your Neanderthal DNA in your blood? You should have some Neanderthal in you, or some other Homo erectus or Homo habilis or something. You should have some of that. Yeah. Next time I talk to one of them jokers, I'm gonna bring that up. Let me do a little bit of research on it. But I'm gonna bring that up. We've already covered this, but I'm guessing you came in late. Um, oh, my bad. When the serpent said that you should surely not die in that day, he was lying. Spending one day of yours is 100 years to God. The metaphor that is made in the New Testament as by one day being 1,000 years to God is something that was created in the first and second century. No one who wrote this story thought that one day to God is 1,000 years. No one. When this story was written. And the word that is used there is yom, means 24-hour day. He said, no, I meant people who weren't born fully developed. Even a baby has consciousness of their existence. Even a person with extra chromosome has awareness of their existence, to the level. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And there is still a level of self-awareness there. There's still a consciousness that's there. Like my nephew who has autism, although he is not verbal, he still is aware of self. I can't say what he understands and what he doesn't understand because he's nonverbal. And to me, I think I would go crazy in my mind if I could never express anything. So I understand what you're saying, but that would just be a lower level of self-awareness. But self-awareness to the level of developing your own agency, that you can change your consciousness, change your personality, change your thought process, change how you respond and react. You see, most things in the world only respond and react based on a level of vibration or awareness that is instinctive. But the more developed you are, the more developed any species is, the less instinctive, the less it depends on its instinctiveness. So even though like dolphins and great apes, they can show levels of emotions, they're mitigated to where they can't go outside of their instinctive nature or their environment. And that's what separates us from them. Says some are just conscious and others are conscious of being conscious. Yeah, I like that. But my cigar has been gone, and it is 2 hours and 2.5 hours on here. So you know I have reached my limitations. But it's a good conversation. I see y'all are getting into this whole thing, and that's great. Y'all can keep talking even after I get off. The comment section still will be there. But y'all, this has been a great conversation. I just came up with this subject matter earlier today. I forgot who said it, but I probably have a cowboy hat on tomorrow with comments. Don't like my other hats. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for being here. I look forward to our next conversation. We go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope that today, just as always, we have conversation. We don't always have to disagree. We don't always have to agree on everything. That's the beauty of having a higher vibrational mind, is the fact that you don't need anybody to agree with you, right? But I just follow where the evidence leads. I'm not going to recap today like I normally would, but y'all know what we talked about earlier. If you didn't catch it, just start it over after we get off. But y'all have a great day. I expect to see y'all in San Antonio for this event. We would love to meet all of y'all. Even the ones who don't like me, I would love to meet all of y'all. Shake your hand, give you a hug, whatever it is. It would be great to meet y'all. So y'all have a great night, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and I'm out.